Hello everyone, this is Darko 2012 from Global Government News, and I will be reporting on the recent restructuring, not recovery, restructuring of the economy, just to kind of help build my case that the economy isn't going to go back to where it was, and that there is no real recovery. It's just a restructuring, turning the United States into at least a second world nation, right? So here we go. Unemployment funds going absolutely broke. 40 state programs to be emptied by the jobless tsunami within 2 years. The recession's jobless toll is draining unemployment compensation funds so fast that according to federal projections, 40 state programs will go broke within 2 years and need $90 billion in loans to keep issuing the benefit checks. The shortfalls are putting pressure on governments to either raise taxes or shrink the aid payments. Debates over the state benefit programs have erupted in South Carolina, Nevada, Kansas, Vermont, and Indiana, uh, and the budget gaps are expected to spread and become more acute in the coming year, compelling legislators in many states to reconsider their operations, which is weird because all those are conservative states, and I'm in one of them. Currently, 25 states have run out of unemployment money and have borrowed $24 billion from the federal government to cover the gaps. By 2011, according to the Department of Labor estimates, 40 state funds will have been emptied by the jobless tsunami. There's immense pressure and it's got to be faced, said Indiana State Representative David Nizgoski, a Democrat, a sponsor of a bill that addressed the gaps in Indiana's unemployment program. Our system was absolutely broke. Yeah, but like I said, I'm from Indiana and I know that it's kind of nice living in Indiana because of this, the no sales tax and whatnot, and um, it's not, you can still carry a weapon, and it's somewhat conservative still. Um, but it's getting to that point now where people are gonna, even people that are conservative are gonna start wanting help from the government. But anyways, give and take. The Indiana legislation protected the aid checks, he said, but it came after a give and take this spring in which Governor Mitch Daniels, Republican, said the state had been providing Rolls-Royce benefits, and several thousand union workers countered by protesting proposed cuts at the state capitol. In January, the legislature is slated to consider a bill to delay the proposed tax increase intended to refill the fund. In Nevada, Governor Jim Gibbons, Republican, and legislators have feuded over the unemployment program, which is $85 million in debt to the federal government, with Gibbons accusing the legislator of callous disregard for not setting a tax rate. And last week, a state task force, I love how they call them task force, that's so funny, in Kentucky recommended cutting benefits about 9% and imposing a week's delay in their payment. The average benefit check there is about $309 a week. The task force also proposed raising taxes. There were some moments of high anxiety during the negotiations between industry and labor groups, said Joseph Meyer, the state's acting Secretary of Education and Workforce Development, but in the end, the realistic options become fairly apparent. Two choices: state unemployment compensation funds are separated from general budgets, so when there is a shortfall, only two primary solutions are typically considered: either cut the benefit or raise the payroll tax. Industry and business groups often lobby against raising the payroll tax on employers, while unions and other groups protest the benefit cuts, which that is in itself I can probably talk and speak on for at least 20 minutes. But for the sake of time, I'm just keep moving right now. We want to make sure Kentucky remains competitive and also maintain an environment of fairness, Meyer said in the negotiations. Nationally, the average tax is about 0.6% of the payroll. The average weekly check is about 300. In the last paragraph here it says, not prepared. The troubles the state programs face can be traced to the failure during the economic boom to properly prepare for a downturn, experts said. Unemployment benefits are funded by the payroll tax on employers that is collected at a rate that is supposed to keep the fund solvent. Firms that fire lots of people are supposed to pay higher rates. The federal government pays for administrative costs, and in the recession it pays for the extension of unemployment benefits beyond 26 weeks. But over the years, the drive to minimize state taxes on employers has reduced the funds to unsustainable levels. The benefits have grown. That's not the problem. said Richard Hobby, director of the National Association of State Workforce Agencies. Even so, he said he expects to see unemployment checks reduced. A shortfall in state unemployment fund, he said, usually means cuts in eligibility or benefits. In Virginia, the unemployment program has borrowed $89 million from the federal government, while Maryland has not borrowed, according to the federal data. And I just wanted to make a comment on this part right here, um, about the solutions. What do? You're running out of these benefits, and there's a lot of people that are unemployed. Um, it says here, industry and business groups often lobby against raising the payroll tax on employers, while unions and other groups protest benefit cuts. Um, well, I think everybody understands that concept, but when I read something like this, I'm just throwing my ideas out there. When I read something like this, I know that things just aren't always as black and white as they appear, right? So, of course, it all goes back to the unions, but no, industry and businesses do not. Yeah, of course, they're gonna not want to have to raise payroll taxes, because you can say, oh, well, they're greedy, but theoretically, if they're not paying if they're not paying as much taxes for their employees, then they would have more money to keep employees, right? It would have to be the people, the workers, the union workers, who would have to grow up. I'm sorry, union workers. Half of my friends are union members, but I don't know what to say, dude. Grow up, you know? Because I mean, you guys are used to having unions represent you and everything, but when times get rough, you need to just suck it up. You need to take a lower wage, and you need to feed your family, do what you got to do. But it's an ugly, ugly scenario, because unions were formed because of monopolies, because of Carnegie's, Rockefellers, Fords, back in the industrial boom. And that's why unions were created, because it was not a free market back then. Monopolies were created, and so that's why unions grew, and that's why they were needed, and they're still needed now. But the ultimate solution to this problem is not increasing taxes on the people who cannot pay them, right? They can't afford to pay more payroll taxes. The workers can't, and then the people can't. So raising taxes isn't going to help anybody. Having more money flowing, allowing to flow and to be invested, and to be able to allow the employers to decide what they're going to do in order to keep their business going, to keep employees going, it should be up to them. But it's like a tug of war, really, because we're not in a free market, so there almost needs to be unions. But my solution, of course, like I said, was to allow the business owners to do what they want with their money, and for the union workers to suck it up. Um, so, that's pretty much what I have to say about it as far as unemployment goes. Besides the fact that they'll be telling you that the unemployment rate is, I think they said it just plummeted a 0.5% to 11 or 12% a couple weeks ago. But to be honest with you, people, I mean, when I listen to financial forecasters on Infowars.com and that, was it Lindsey Williams, Bob Chapman, uh, you know, they're saying that the real unemployment rate here, guys, is almost 20%. 20%. And he's saying that it's going to double by the end of next year. Do you know what that means? Like almost, one in three people, one out of every three Americans is going to be unemployed by the end of next year. And I don't think half Americans see it coming, or hopefully half of them see it coming, but the other half are just kind of hanging on to threads of hope from the government and the media and whoever they're listening to. But it's not going to come, people. So that's my 2 cents on this. It's not coming. So just suck it up, everybody, and be pro free market, because that's the only way we're going to get out of this crap. So thank you for listening.